Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your favorite Sunday evening show on the internet. Not just a Bama show, but best show, period. And hey, we told you we were going to be back even in the off season. We're always going to do our thing. But you
Yes,
are right
sir.
now live with the Bama Standard post game show brought to you by Oakmont Financial Partners and Workspace Solutions. Before we get started, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're here in the chat, let us know you're here. Show us some love. We already got a Georgia Bulldog fan in the house. Come on, Bama Nation. We got to do better than that. I need y'all to be here before the Bulldogs are at the front porch,
They
although
are
they
at
got
the
a lot to be
front
excited
porch.
about. But yeah, jump in the live chat. And also, if you're watching the replay, jump in the comment section. Let us know what you think. That's how we grow. And you're the most important part of this family. Come on in. Come on in.
Roll
I'm
Tide, roll
Justin
Tide.
Riley. With me, as always, is the living legend who I have to constantly raise his salary to keep him on board here. The man who carries the show, the
Chill.
honorable, never duplicated Coach Smook. What
What's
is
going
going
on?
on?
Man, I'm excited today. I don't even know why I'm acting like we about to play a game or something, but I think I'm more excited because I know there's a page turning and we're gonna dive into a lot of those things. So I'm glad to be here, man.
Could the excitement not only be because of the pace turning, but I think something happened yesterday in Tuscaloosa. We spayed the Wildcats.
Hey,
Guys,
bro,
listen.
I've been enjoying some Alabama basketball, like to the point where that's definitely getting added to the like we have to dive into that. These boys have really, and I've always been a Bama basketball fan. It just hasn't been much to talk about up until probably Avery Johnson showed up, and you could see things starting to change, and him impacting, getting in the recruiting battles, and pulling in onesies and twosies there. But we have a solid squad for the next 2 years minimum, and these boys are. I'm talking about balling, and it ain't just because they beat Kentucky. I'm talking about even how they beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That was a good game, man. We're looking like the new Tennessee almost. Bunch of long guys that can run that ball and play defense, man.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into a lot of Bama basketball content as the off season progresses. But listen, 78-52, absolute drubbing of Kentucky. And as I watched that game, I was able to jump in the second half because of prior schedule. But coach, what it looked to me like it was a bunch of grown men playing against children. Alabama flat out took the wheel of Kentucky. I haven't seen that my entire time as a Bama basketball fan. And for the first time in quite some time, I had this feeling like before we even set foot on the court that
Hmm.
the game's already won. I
Yeah,
can't even tell you last time I felt that way. And we've had some teams, we've had some dudes on that court throughout the years in Bama basketball, but this has a different feel to it. I almost don't want to jinx us, but as I watched that game yesterday, it just is amazing to me the emergence or the growth, if you will, of Bediako.
yeah,
And he completely shut down Toshibwe, a guy that has been dominant every game this season, rendered absolutely powerless. He had only 4 points and 6 rebounds. This is a guy that was averaging high double doubles a game and
and
rendered virtually powerless. It's like he wasn't even there. It was an awesome thing to watch. And don't worry, guys in the chat, we are about to talk about football. But listen, when you
yeah.
beat Kentucky 78-52,
Not
and I don't,
just
and
like a.
I don't care if you say that Kentucky is not the Kentucky of old here right now. It
It's
still
Kentucky.
means
It's
something.
a
It's
it's a
Kentucky.
Calipari coach Kentucky, one of the most winning programs. I think they're number two right now, for the time he's been there up until now, the number two most winning program. Because he's done it. He's been able to carry over when he's in quote unquote down years. They still had a strong recruiting year. It's just everybody's catching up now, man. Everybody's catching up, and Nate Oates implementing a system, man. Like he's showing you that you can still be a systematic coach in college basketball. As far as running, half court sets that actually require um not necessarily skill set, but attention to detail. And the system works, man. You got guys that can penetrate, kick the ball. You got guys who are ready to shoot, not reluctant to shoot.
Mhm.
Like you got guys. I'm talking about rebounding. We have some long guards, man. And I'm not sure if the fan base here is familiar with basketball, but anytime you can get 4 or 5 guys that's like 6'5" to 6'7", that on that team that can actually like they have like 6'7" to 6'10" wingspan, you can cover a lot of space on the floor. And then you have they're quick, they're shifty, they're gritty on the defensive side. That's a
Mhm.
hard team to deal with, man.
And one of the things that we've talked often about on the Bama standard was in terms of football, players take on the personality of their coach. And
Correct.
now that's transitioned to basketball. The players are
Mhm.
taking on the personality of Nate Oates. This group gets it. They understand the assignment. Last year, we had a lot of talent last year, but I
Right.
don't feel like they understood the assignment. You could argue that Herb Jones and his crew did. They just weren't at the talent level that we're at now.
Right.
But these guys have that coupled with understanding what it's all about. And this team, the ceiling is incredibly high. But we'll definitely get to that, guys.
Oh
We're here
yeah.
to talk about football.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Football. As promised, we're going to start things out with our postseason awards.
Kicking it off. Let's go.
Kick it off. Let's go ahead and do it, man.
Let me pull
Hey,
out my
listen,
notes. I gotta pull it out, y'all. I
gotta
gotta
pull
pull
out your
out the
notes. Gotta
iPhone.
pull out your notes. I suggested we call these awards, these annual awards, the Smookies, but Coach Smook decided he was not going to
Hey, you know
vote that
what?
in.
Don't put that on me. You put it on me right before we came up. The Smookies. You want me to tell you why? That used to be my nickname when I was little. Like once I started smelling myself, like my uncle said, it went from Smooky. It went from Smooky to Smook. So we kind of left Smook in what's that, 2001? I turned 11 in 2001. That's when I became a man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when
I hear
that's
you.
what I knew. That's what I knew I wanted to, play football and basketball and stuff like that. That's when you become man, when you know what you want to do. So, but
Hey,
yeah.
real quick, I got to hit this comment here. Moon Rocka, Saban was at the Kentucky game. Coach Oates said later the team was trying to make their asses quit. I
Hey,
love that.
I love that energy. But you know what? Coach Oates, I don't know if y'all remember his introductory speech. He said Alabama is not just a football school.
Championship school.
Alabama is a athletic. The athletics at Alabama are superior to are inferior to none, or something he said. But he said Coach Saban has he's ignited a fire in the university, not just for the athletics, but for the university. And you see this guy implementing, like standing strong on his beliefs and philosophies of how to develop young men. And that's what we see happening on the basketball court right now. You could tell now he has his recruits. He has guys that he's going after, that he's been able to analyze and get those character backgrounds and all those things aligned. And
Mhm.
he's making impact, man. I'm excited. But like you said, football, man.
Football.
This
Hey,
this is this is this
we're
is
here to
this
talk
is the
about
off season. We
football.
get to be happy. We don't have to talk about facts all the time. We can speculate. We can
I
have
like
high
it.
hopes.
See, I
We're here.
like the speculation period where we can just spout us stuff, and
Yes,
because
sir.
people now think that we have credentials enough to be expert, they're going to listen to us. I like that. I like the
Right,
kind of
right,
power that we're being given here by
right,
the
man.
wonderful folks in the audience.
Hey,
But
yeah. Shout
listen,
out to everybody in the chat too. Roll Tide,
yes,
everybody. Don't forget
yes,
to
thank
drop
you
those
guys.
donations too. Y'all been helping us out big time. Been showing up. We've been having crazy numbers because of you all. So keep doing what you're doing, man. But let's get into it, Justin. I'm
Let's
ready.
do
I'm
it.
ready.
Let's start
I'm
out
ready.
on the offensive side of the ball. Hey, listen, you folks in the chat, y'all take part in this too. I want you to give us your choices of each category that we have tonight. Starting out
You want
with
to
the,
do you
hmm,
want to do defense and I do offense?
we're gonna have both. I'll
Okay,
start off.
okay,
I'll start out with the offense. I'll
okay.
give you mine, and then you can give yours,
Boom, boom. I just hope,
and then you go hit that defensive side of the ball. I mean, I know you're ready to give the Henry Toa Courage Award,
man.
but
Hey,
you
my
have to
man.
wait. Oh, wow. So, offensive MVP gonna go ahead and get started out big without question. I know it's cliche, but Bryce Young. Without Bryce Young, this season does not happen. Did we make a national championship? No. But the thing is, if not for Bryce Young, we're looking down the barrel of a gun of a record that's not so promising and probably more so along the lines of an Independence Bowl berth. This is a man that went out there, made magic happen, played backyard football at times because he had to, and he didn't have a competent offensive coordinator to guide him and to properly develop the personnel around him. He put the team on his back on so many occasions and was able to lead us to 11-2 mark and a Sugar Bowl victory and capped his career with an outstanding performance in the Sugar Bowl and solidified himself, in my mind, as the number one pick overall in the 2023 draft. Offensive clutch player of the year. I'm going to go ahead and give that to Jahmyr Gibbs. This is a guy that was, I guess you could say, 1B for the MVP, and that's why I call him the clutch player, because this is a guy when drives were stalling, didn't look like there was much hope, and it felt like the momentum of the game was always shifting to our opponent. Jahmyr would come up with some big play to extend drives and to ignite the offense and keep drives going. Most recently, look at what he was able to do in the Sugar Bowl. You know, we were down 10-0.
Right.
And it looked like we were facing a 3-and-out on the next series after that long run from Deuce Vaughn. And then he catches that shallow cross pass, takes it 57 yards, keeps the drive going. And you saw what happened after that. But this is a guy that was just, he not only put up incredible numbers, but he too took the team on the back and the offensive team on his back when we were struggling to find an identity. He, for majority of the part, was the identity. So I'm going to give him the offensive clutch player of the year, running back of the year. You would think they would be Jahmyr Gibbs, but I also have to go with Jace McClellan. This is a guy that I saw
I know you, bro. I know you. I
when
knew you was
finally
going there.
given his opportunity, was able to turn up. When we actually were running the ball more than twice or three times a game, was a difference maker between the tackles, hitting people in the mouth, extending drives, dragging piles. And then when he was in the open field, was able to do his thing too. He wasn't just a one-trick pony, able to do a whole lot more. This is a guy that really kind of took on the mantle of an offensive star in that Ole Miss game. I felt like he was one of the main catalysts of the victory on the road in Oxford when we really didn't know what this team was about after losing to LSU. We could have easily packed things up and been done, but Jay said, hell no, I still have pride. My brother Jahmyr is down. It's time for me to do my thing and show people why I was highly recruited and why in my senior year I'm going to be the man. So running back of the year, got to go with Jace McClellan. Really excited about what he's going to do next year. Wide receiver of the year. You're probably laughing and saying, did we have any of those this year?
We had a few.
We had a few, not to the taste that we're accustomed to. But if you had to really be hard pressed in choosing somebody, the most consistent guy was Ja'Cory Brooks. I feel like a guy that in clutch moments was going to make that tough catch. He's going to high point the ball. He was going to come down when we needed that first down or that big touchdown. And he definitely performed more often than not. And I loved what he did in the Sugar Bowl. Gives us tremendous excitement going into next season. Offensive lineman of the year. Man, I'll say as a whole, this group has greatly improved. I will go ahead and throw that out there because we had 30 less sacks than we did this past season. That to me is tremendous feat right there. But I'm going to go with my guy that I've been with the entire season, Seth McLaughlin. This is a guy that was a difference maker. And as soon as he was inserted into the lineup, things greatly changed. Holes were opening up.
Right.
We were leaning on people, driving people down the field. There was aggression, ruthless aggression that just wasn't there before.
Right.
He kind of reminded me of our boy Landon Dickerson. Not the size of Landon, but he had the heart and that blue collar attitude of a Dickerson. Huge.
Mm-hmm.
Most improved offensive player. Man, had to really, look at this here. Um, I guess got Camla too. He came up big towards the later part of the season, and he didn't have the year that we expected him to. And quite frankly, there were times that we forgot about him. But then during the later part of the season, he was coming up big with catches, blocks, and capped off his career in the Sugar Bowl with a tremendous game too. So I had to give that nod to Camla too. Offensive newcomer of the year. Man, Tyler Booker. I know most people go skill position. Most people go a little bit more flashy. But Tyler Booker, along with Seth McLaughlin, to me, was what really got this offensive line moving in the right direction. Added that extra degree of toughness, and he kind of got everybody connected. That chemistry was there. Everything was flowing. It just seemed
Right.
like an entirely different offensive line when he came into a lineup. So those are my picks. Coach Smook, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's your turn. Sorry, your turn for the
Hmm.
offensive awards. Who was
All
your
right.
offensive MVP?
So starting off, we already know Bryce was the offense. We saw what happened when we had to have Milroe. Yes, we won. Yes, we was able to finish the game off and win it. But I feel like any competent defensive coordinator who had more than a week to prep for Jalen Milroe, we would have ran into some problems. So definitely Bryce Young, just being the catalyst for this defense. Our offensive clutch player, we got the same guy, man, Jahmyr Gibbs. Um, I didn't make him the best running back or the most improved, none of that. I really just was saying he did it all. Him and Bryce together created a lot of clutch plays, and anytime Bryce needed a clutch play, that's who he was going to, just like you said. So Jahmyr Gibbs for my offensive clutch player, the running back of the year, running with you. Same, Jace. I've always been a Jace McClellan fan. Jace McClellan fan since he got on campus, man. I remember watching him as a junior on the show Titletown, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Not Titletown. I forget the name of it. But it was one of those shows, and he was playing at the school in Texas. It's like a Lato something. I remember seeing him as the backup running back on that show. And the kid was he was already making noise in high school as the backup running back. And I forget the running back that was in front of him, but he was getting a lot of the publicity during that show. And but the coach made it a point to point out Jace McClellan in that show. And yeah, so Jace McClellan for my running back. Wide receiver, I'm gonna go with Ja'Cory Brooks. He was the most consistent receiver. We knew he didn't have the best hands. But when he did make plays, it was always in big moments.
Mm-hmm.
Ja'Cory Brooks always showed up at the wide receiver. Anytime we needed a wide receiver to show up in big moments, Ja'Cory Brooks, anytime he got a chance, he would make big on it. Yeah, he dropped a few balls in like regular time, but big moments, Ja'Cory Brooks. If you think about every big catch this year, most of the scoring, big catches, Ja'Cory Brooks was at the end of those. So definitely goes to him. Offensive lineman of the year. This is where I want to I'm gonna change it up because
Okay.
I think I had the same as you, but when I think about it, I go back from last year to now, and I had to make a move. So offensive lineman of the year, I'm gonna go with Ekior, and
Oh,
I'm gonna tell you
wow.
why. I'm gonna tell
Okay.
you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
If you go and watch a lot of the run game, when Ekior was pulling, or we ran to the right side interior, we made some dents. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where our running game would start. When we ran in between the tackles. And I mean, yeah, in between the tackles and Ekior being the point man on the block. So I gotta give to Ekior. He got beat on a few pass blitzes, but that was a lot of times that was when Dalcourt was at center. I noticed
Yeah.
that when Dalcourt
Right.
was at center, Ekior looked horrible, but when McLaughlin came out there, Ekior, he was definitely the guy. He was the one with the energy. He probably was the most nasty too out of the group. That first five. So I give it to Ekior, and like you said, the whole offensive line with Seth McLaughlin at center. It didn't matter what you put around McLaughlin. It seemed like it made everybody else better. But Ekiyor stood out for me.
Okay.
And the most improved offensive player, Seth McLaughlin. Last year we saw him come in and just hustle, produce an energy. But this year you saw him being able to make blitz reads, call outs, help change protections. The guy was on next level, a second level blocking. Seth McLaughlin was that guy. Last year you could see that he just played off of energy because he didn't
Right.
know much. But having a year in the system, having another year under his belt, I think that's what allowed him to be a lot more comfortable when his number was called. And honestly, I think he knew that the position was his. The only thing that kept him from being the starter from day one is the early season injury right before the season started. Because y'all remember, Dallacourt was not the projected starter. He was not projected as a starter 2 weeks before the season started. Seth McLaughlin had that injury right before the season started, and that's what opened the door for Dallacourt. Then Dallacourt got injured. Seth
Mhm.
McLaughlin took over. Then Dallacourt played that one game while McLaughlin was out, and McLaughlin came back. So Seth McLaughlin is my most improved player. And the offensive newcomer of the year, I'm going with Kobe Prentice.
Oh, okay.
Kobe Prentice started week 1, Utah State. He started against Texas. He was the leading receiver against Texas, I believe, as far as receptions. Might not been yards, but I know he had the most receptions. We were targeting him a lot early in the season. And then as JoJo Earl and those guys began to come back, he kind of began to get mixed up in the rotation. So for him to be on from day one, kickoff week 1 all the way through the season and finish on a high note like he did with that, touchdown reception in the Sugar Bowl, Kobe Prentice is definitely my newcomer of the year. But I will also give it to Kendrick Law. If I
Okay.
had, and that would only reason Kendrick Law wouldn't get is because we didn't get to see as many snaps from Kendrick Law like we did Kobe. So I
That's
feel like
fair.
if Kendrick Law was in the same position, if you flip the positions, like their playing time, the amount of snaps, the amount of the situations that they were thrown into, the opportunities that were presented, I would have Kendrick Law there. I feel like honestly, I feel like Kendrick Law probably would have been more impactful because of his physicality and his fearlessness. But Kobe Prentice definitely did his thing this year, and I think he's going to be a lead receiver for us because he had a quiet freshman year, kind of like Jerry Jeudy did when Calvin Ridley was the number one guy his freshman year. So I'm excited to see what those guys do on the offensive side of the ball.
Real quick, Moonrocker, Y'all Wild, and Gibbs was a newcomer of the year. I guess we should have been a little more descriptive on what we meant by that.
We
We
should
meant
have
more
said
so
freshman.
the freshmen, the young
Yeah,
guys, not
yeah, I
so
gotta
much
remember.
who transferred over.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying, Moonrocker, but I wanted to take the time to explain what we meant by that.
Yeah, because you definitely have a point there. When I read it and I started looking at all the other awards, I was like, I don't want to throw because it was more than in certain games, man. It was more than just Gibbs and Bryce that would step up. Like you saw moments of like Bama this year, even though it was not the Bama season we become used to. We saw moments where we looked like Bama, where it seemed like you couldn't guard just one person. You couldn't key in on just Bryce or Jameer. Like we looked like an efficient offense at times during this
Right.
year. And then the next quarter, you're trying to figure out where it went. Where's the plays that was working in the first quarter? Like, come on. But yeah, we know what their reason was. But we're not talking about that tonight. So I'm not even gonna let you go there, Justin. I know you
Oh
ready to.
man, come on,
No,
bro.
we're not doing that today. We got
It's
all off
for the
season,
people. People like the entertainment.
especially if he's out of here by the end of next week, like I'm hearing. Oh man,
Oh,
we
we're hearing
did.
some things. We're hearing some
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
We're going to talk about what we're hearing in
yeah.
just a minute, but
Just a minute.
go ahead and you name your list from the
For the
defensive side of
defense.
the ball, and then I'll give mine.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go out of order. I'm gonna do my defensive MVP last.
Okay.
Um, Defensive clutch player of this season. Uh, it was a hard one because this guy he's on my list twice. But I'm going with Jaheim Otis, defensive clutch player. Jaheim Otis caused so much havoc in the middle once he got inserted
Hmm.
that you would see defenses totally evade the run game in tight games. They would like just go back and watch those close games. They had to beat us through the air. They had to make it a game through the air. They had to because he was him, Burrows, Young, those guys up front that was in that rotation, Smith, they were creating havoc, but Otis was you didn't see it like being consistent until he was getting the majority of the snaps. Once DJ Dale was playing spot and clean up and Otis was implemented, he was definitely the most clutch player on the defensive side. But let's go to the next award, defensive lineman of the year. Outside of Otis being the clutch player, defensive lineman of the year, we're going to go with Byron Young, man. My
Ooh,
guy, he had
yeah,
a strong year,
he
injuries
did.
and all. Strong year, probably the most consistent quote unquote DN that we had after a Boygby had to go out. You saw Young step up or just shine more because they both were. I feel like we forget that we lost a Boygby too. So
Yeah, I,
I could just imagine if a boy being young were out there all the whole season and allowing Burrows to come in and play spot. I wish we could have seen more of Boygby, Otis, and Young as the front three because that right there to me is just havoc waiting to happen. Especially for the run game and even on the pass rush. Young is sneaky, a great pass rusher from the DN spot. So, um, definitely Byron Young, linebacker of the year, Will Anderson, hands down. And that's with Dallas Turner being a close number 2, and Deontay Lawson being a close number 3. When you just talking about linebackers, like Lawson came out and showed out, and he didn't get a lot of recognition because that he was sharing snaps with Hugging Henry, but uh those 3 guys, Will Anderson being number 1, definitely linebacker of the year, and those 2 following behind them, we're gonna have a good tight group of linebackers like this coming up season. DB of the year, Eli Ricks. The moment he was inserted, um, and was every moment he was on the field, he was a factor. He was a shutdown corner. He shut down a whole side of the field. He didn't need 13 games to show that he was the best corner we had. Literally, the moment he was inserted into the game, he showed us that he was the best defensive back on the field as far as coverage. When you talk about defensive back assignments, coverage, locking down his side. He even played good edge control with the run game when they try to stretch the run game to the edges. Eli Ricks wasn't the most physical, but he was definitely smart in how he played the game, and it showed. So I definitely got Eli Ricks as the DB of the year. Most improved defensive player, I got Kool-Aid McKinstry, the most improved.
mm,
And I want to say this because last year Kool-Aid played just off of raw talent. He just played off of raw talent. He was inserted. He got put into big spots as a freshman. And he showed up because of raw talent. But this year you saw technique. Every week it got better. You
yeah.
saw his ability to get hands on the receiver and cause, interruption. Even some of the pass interference causes that Kool-Aid got. Me personally, I'm not throwing no flags on a lot of those. You got guys trying to push off, be slick as receivers. And in this new day and age, they get most of the offensive players going to get a lot of, of the calls, man. They're going to lean towards because it's a point driven game. High score
Mhm.
drives up the numbers, it drives up the viewers. So yeah, you see the officiating changing too. So Kool-Aid is definitely the most improved player. I'm
And you
talking
also
about
got to think too that the SEC officiating was not the best
horrible,
this year.
worst of
There
any
was a
league.
there was a drastic change between the SEC officiating and then the officiating crew in the Sugar Bowl, where they just allowed these guys to play, and things that normally would have gotten flags right and left, they weren't there. They just
You know
looked at
what?
it as, hey, these guys are playing ball. We're going to let them play ball.
I think did we have a Big Ten crew?
Yes, it was a Big Ten crew.
And see, Big Ten, Big Ten is kind of like what the SEC used to be. You don't see a lot of high flying scores and stuff like that. So I believe that it's a kind of a mindset. You got Ohio State up there that like might run the score up every now and then. Who else? Maryland in that conference
Yes, they
also.
are.
I mean, those type of teams. So as an officiating crew, you like to see guys display their ability, and you want them to play football. It's a physical sport.
Mhm.
So they already have to pay close attention to targeting, and illegal hits. Let these guys hand fight. Let these guys slap. If a DB
Yeah.
jam a wide receiver, slap a wide receiver in the face coming off the ball, or a wide receiver, he getting off the jam and he jammed the the DB. Let him get away with it. Go Frogs. What?
Yeah. Shout out to Elizabeth Reed for the 49.99
Let's
super
go. That's
chat.
big. Man,
Man,
we got to get the
TCU in the
horn.
house.
We got to get
Hey,
the
if this is
horn.
what TCU fans are about, their generous and giving nature,
Hey,
I'm all
come on.
about that. But you're always welcome in the chat, regardless of what fan base that you cheer for. But thank you so much, Elizabeth. We greatly appreciate you.
Frank Nissy. I'm not done. See, you ain't even let me finish. You jumping ahead, Frank Nissy. You know I got you. Look, all right. So the defensive newcomer of the year, I'm gonna give it to Jaheim Otis. He's the only person
Yeah.
on both sides that got 2 awards because he just was that impactful. He was the freshman needs to be the freshman defensive player of the year for Bama. And then also he just I mean, just to show up and to make I don't know why we played around with not giving him so many snaps because DJ Dell was not it the past 2-3 years. DJ Dell was a senior this year. So, yeah, the past 3 years, DJ Dell has not been it. And we've been sitting on guys like Otis and Latham and who else we got in the middle?
Jamil
Smith,
Burrows.
Burrows in the
Yeah.
middle. Like, you got some dogs that's ready to get out here and hit
Really.
and blow stuff up, and they'll get in manhandle out there. You 300 plus pounds getting manhandled by a 275-pound center, a 284-pound center. When we played against UL Monroe, I think that was, the center was 262 pounds, just handling DJ Dale by himself. They weren't doubling down on Dale. So that Otis definitely was my guy for newcomer of the year. And then defensive MVP, my boy Brian Branch. He wasn't only the best DB. He wasn't only the best outside linebacker. He wasn't the only best edge rusher we had this year. This guy was the best player on the defense the whole year. He had interceptions. He had tackles for losses. He had sacks. He had forced fumbles. He had fumble recoveries. The guy had pass breakups. Every defensive stat that you can possibly get, he had it. This man had pass interference calls, the least out of all the DBs. But he had calls, so he's not out there just hiding. He's in every phase of the defense and making impact. And so that's why I didn't label him as the best DB, because he's the best defensive player on the defense for us this year. So that goes my list. I'm gonna run it down one more time because I know I went into like a big thing. So my MVP, Branch, clutch player, Otis, the defensive lineman of the year, Byron Young, linebacker of the year, Will Anderson, DB of the year, Eli Ricks, most improved defensive player, Kool-Aid, and defensive newcomer of the year, Jaheim Otis.
Love it. Love it. Now it's my turn, and I'm not going to go into a long dissertation because of the interest in time. We have more topics to talk about, which I know some of which brought a lot of you people here. So I'm going to run through it kind of the same way that Coach Smook did. I'll leave my defensive MVP till the very end. Defensive clutch player of the year, BB Brian Branch, a guy that came up big in the biggest moments when Will Anderson was being double and triple teamed, and we were looking for that guy. He was that guy in the most volatile of situations. Defensive lineman of the year. Man, it was hard, but Byron Young edged out Jaheim Otis just barely. Byron Young is another guy alongside Brian Branch in big moments where we needed a tackle for a loss or a sack, just a major disruption. He's going to provide it. So, and he definitely earned himself a lot of money towards the later part of the season and the Sugar Bowl. Linebacker of the year. Yes, I could easily go with Will Anderson, but he wasn't allowed to be Will Anderson just because of the respect he commands from other people. I'm going to look at a person who improved greatly throughout the season and added big plays when we needed them. Surprisingly, Deontay Lawson, a guy that I watched grow tremendously throughout the year and is going to be just an incredible part of that defense next year. Defensive back of the year, Brian Branch, again, for me, is that guy. No explanation necessary. Most improved defensive player, got to definitely go with Kool-Aid as well. a guy that just played on raw talent last year, was able to do some really good things, but because he didn't have that seasoning or that maturation quite yet, he was beat on some plays. But this year, he wouldn't beat that much. And if you notice, more often than not, his side of the field was shut down. So tremendous job by Kool-Aid. Excited for next year. Defensive newcomer of the year, hands down, Jaheim Otis.
There you go.
Just disruptive, is a key catalyst of the Great Wall of Hell No. And if Justin Aborby comes back next year, which I feel like he should and he will, those two paired with some of the other guys coming back like a Burrows, it's going to be unstoppable. I'm excited. But yeah, that's my list. The defensive MVP, Brian Branch, he's got the three-peat for me.
Yeah.
That's tough to argue.
It is. And the only reason I'm shaking my head, nodding my head, is because that was your list that you just named off was my first thought list. But when I started thinking in depth and wanted to make it interesting and give another viewpoint of we had a good season, a bad season to fans, but a good season. And if you really think about it, man, we had some high points where we just looked like we were supposed to look. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm saying even early in the season, like with the offense spurting, the defense showed up. It's just you only can run so many plays before natural human physical fatigue sets in. And our defense was on the field like the only defense that's close to ours as far as the amount of plays played by the defense was like Missouri or somebody, and they're like 200 or something plays less than our defense. Everybody else is like less than Missouri for the league. And you think about some of the most horrible teams in the SEC, and we were literally, our defense played the most snaps of any team in the SEC this year. And that's tough. That's tough when you got offenses in the league like Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri can go off every now and then. You got Mississippi State, they can go off every now and then. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. But that air raid, it pick and choose a week when they want to go crazy. And then LSU started picking up at the right time. Like, we have offenses in the SEC. Florida can go off every now and then. Like, these teams, Georgia, you got a league where offenses can sustain drives. They can put up numbers. They can run the ball. And when you're not doing the same thing with your offense, it puts a bind on your defense. So for what our defense was faced up against and the situations that they were put in, not giving them excuses. There's never an excuse for giving up 40 plus points at Alabama. There's 30 points is pushing it. 20. Right. Actually, I remember a time when 24 was a bad game, and it's just recently these past 3 years where we're like, okay, we beat them 48-21. We beat them 48-28. We beat them 42-31. Like, nah, that ain't how Bama used to do it. But it's the league is changing, and for what our defense had to go through, you were right on point with that list, man. I'm excited because
I appreciate
that page is turning, man. That page is turning for real. I'm so happy to see this page turning.
Speaking of turning pages, we may have some more pages being turned, and that is in relation to the offensive and defensive coordinator. I know this has been one of the most talked about aspects of Alabama throughout the year, and hey, you could argue the past 2-3 years. So here we are in the off season, and nothing's really happening. We hadn't seen any firings. We hadn't seen any departures. That doesn't mean things aren't happening. Here recently, talk has been heating up, surprisingly, about Pete Golden possibly going to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, and this isn't concrete, so please don't quote me on that, and go to Twitter or whatever social media platform you love and say that I gave this as a definitive fact. But from what I understand, Pete Golden is facing a possible demotion to the co-defensive coordinator, and he isn't feeling that. So now there's a possibility he may end up in Oxford, Mississippi. How much of that is true, I don't know. But we're going to act like he's not going to be there next year.
Yep.
And we're also going to act like Bill O'Brien is not going to be here next year. So Coach Smook and I have compiled a list of our top 5 possible candidates should either or both leave. And Coach Smook, since you were the last to, well, I guess I was the last to give my choices in regards to the awards, go ahead and give me your list of possible replacements for offensive coordinator.
All right, so I didn't come up with 5 because me personally, man, I'm one of those that's realistic. Like in today's day and age, these coaches want more attention than they. I feel like there's very few universities that are picking coaches that actually fit the culture right now. Most universities are willing to stay relevant as they rebuild. Alabama's not rebuilding. We're kind of just resetting the tone. And
Mhm.
for that type of for that to be successful, you have to make you have to be the different, you know, university slash organization and make the actual hire that you need. You can't patch up after a year like this year. So um I'm offensively, I'm hearing Joe Brady is a realistic candidate. And to me, that's
Mhm.
amazing because I feel like, and I said this on the last show. I feel like the next defensive coordinator hire is going to be head coach worthy and ready to just sit for 3 or 4 years while Saban makes his transition out of coaching and into retirement. I feel like the next defensive coordinator hire will be the head coach. But if there was a head coach, offensive coordinator that was promoted in house, if they were hired as the offensive coordinator to be promoted to head coach, I believe it would be Joe Brady, and he
Mhm.
is more than capable of doing so. We saw what he did with LSU when at his 2 years at LSU or 1 year. I think he only did 1 year
1 year.
at and you take that and he goes to the league and he's not having the same type of success because that's a whole different ball game. But his system and his scheme is still effective in the league. It's still sought out. It's a teaching point. You know how he designs offenses. So that would be a great add-on. Garrett Riley,
Mhm.
I still think he's a formidable candidate. And even the what's the guy's name? Browse, Kendall Browse.
Kendall Browse, yeah.
I feel like we could talk to him. I feel like that'd be a good one. But dark horse, nobody's
I,
speaking about it loudly, but
I know where you're going.
it could definitely be possible because of his ties to the university, actually being a player there. And Freddie Kitchens, uh, does he have the ability? Freddie Kitchens has done nothing as a coach to impress me. Nothing at all. But would he be able to have the backing of the alumni and of Saban to be surrounded by a staff that can implement and add to him just being the alumni? Because that's what happened with Kirby. Kirby went to Georgia with a defensive blueprint. That's it. No offensive blueprint, a defensive blueprint. And those first 2 years, you saw the offense struggle, but the defense was consistently at the top. And the moment Kirby surrounded himself with offensive minded people who can challenge him as as a defensive minded guy, and he hired those guys, you see what it's done for Georgia. So Freddie Kitchens could be put in the same position, brought into Alabama as an offensive coordinator because it looks good and it feels good because he buys into the Bama as an organization, as a university,
Right.
and he has the ties to it. And surrounding him with a good staff, keeping Gillespie, we have to keep the RB coach Gillespie and possibly make him the offensive assistant OC, assistant OC, because the guy has some knowledge. He has time in the system. I believe he's bought into the Bama process, and he's getting us these crazy running backs right now. So we definitely don't need to let him go. And the last one, I saw this name. People probably don't know him, Brian Johnson. And if you don't know him, you're not a real Alabama fan because he lit us up in 2008. Was it 2008 we lost to Utah?
Mhm.
Yeah, he lit us up as a quarterback. And the
Oh, I
guy who,
remember him.
yeah, and, and, and people like to give Dan Mullen credit for what he did with his offenses at Mississippi State, but go check and see who the co-offensive coordinator was and the quarterback coach was for them, and you'll see this guy's name. And Dak Prescott has even mentioned this guy with his growth,
Right.
even post leaving. So those are my 5 for the offensive side, bro.
I like it. Freddie Kitchen sounds great just because he comes from the Bama pedigree. He understands the culture. And like you said, a lot of people would buy into it, but I don't necessarily think that is the best hire for
It
us.
it wouldn't
I'm
be
looking,
schematically, man. I'm not a Kitchens believer, but just the sound of it sounds good, and I think that energy, like I said, that's why I said he would have to be surrounded by a staff to even look like he knows what he's doing, because
yeah.
he's done nothing great for me, like as a coach at any level. I haven't seen him do anything great that will impress or be a him just having ties would be a recruiting edge. It would be a
Yeah,
energy
but
edge, but like, yeah, we would need some help behind it.
we would. And I think that we are going to go in the direction of something innovative.
Mhm.
We cannot afford to regress even more or stay along the same lines that we're on right now. We need something that's going to be drastically ahead of other teams, creative. And I got to go on my list right now. Garrett Riley, first and foremost. Of course, that's all dependent upon what happens tomorrow night. I guarantee you, if TCU wins, more than likely teams will come up calling for him as a head coach. Hey, even if they do lose, they may still be coming to him as their next potential head coach. But yeah, he's the perennial number one. Joe Brady, number two, without question. We all know what he did at LSU. A name that's been popping up here as of late, that's Jeff Lebby, former Ole Miss offensive coordinator, now with
Whoa.
Oklahoma. Guy that's innovative, the Lane Kiffin disciple. Definitely knows his stuff in terms of X's and O's. But then
He's a
got
double
to
reverse. What's that play from Little Giants? The annexation of Puerto Rico.
yes,
That's
annexation of
Levy.
Puerto Rico.
That's Levy. I'm telling you, man, he's that guy.
Levy.
It's Saban. He probably will drive Saban crazy like Kiffin did, because he doesn't care. He feel like he can call it. He gonna use it. He gonna call it. You get what I'm saying? So that'd be crazy.
And the guy that Alabama fans should really be familiar with, or after watching the Cotton Bowl, Jim Sabota from Tulane, offensive
Mm.
coordinator, upset USC. Anything that USC threw at them this past Monday, they answered back, and they were able to manipulate that talent-ridden defense. Was it the best defense in the country? Absolutely not. But they were able to out-coach and out-scheme people that were far more talented than they were. Really impressed. Another name that's really surfaced, and I'm not a fan of this, and I've made this very clear throughout the season, that's Dan Mullen. But those right now are the five people that I'm seeing.
If we get Dan Mullen, bro, I don't know.
Yeah.
You coming?
But listen, in interest of time, let's go ahead and move over to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to make it quick, and then I'll give you time, Coach Smook, to kind of expound on yours. Jeremy
We got
Pruitt.
a special guest. Hold on. Say Roll Tide. Go ahead. Say Roll Tide. Okay, now
Roll
get away.
Tide.
She been waiting to do that every week. Chat, y'all making me feel kind of good. I'm sorry, Justin. My kids were on YouTube, and on their YouTube, kids YouTube, and our show popped up,
No
and they were
way.
so excited. Yes, they were so excited to see their daddy on YouTube. Like, yeah, so
You're
yeah.
kind of a big deal now, Coach.
Look, my kids think I'm famous, so that's all that matters.
Are you going to be at Career Day now?
Hey, I'm
when
a
they
YouTube
ask for
podcaster
parents
for
to
that
come.
Bama Standard. You can find it on YouTube. Yeah,
Hey, I love that. I love that.
yes, man.
The matter at
Yeah.
hand, though, let's look at the possible replacements. The defensive coordinator, number one, of course, to me is going to be Jeremy Pruitt. From what I understand, he's been cleared of any NCAA infractions. And if that's the case, bring him back in the fold is
Immediately.
a must pick up. If that's not the direction we're going, I'm looking at either Glenn Schumann or Will Muschamp. I would rather have Glenn Schumann from Georgia. Another guy that I would like to look at just because he's been consistently incredible at what he does, and that's Phil Parker at Iowa. Iowa might not be the most dominant on the offensive side of the ball, but it goes without question. Every year they put out one of the most impressive defensive units in the country, constantly ranked in the top 10.
With less
Someone else to
talent.
consider comes from the Big Ten. recently departed defensive coordinator Jim Leonard left on his own choosing after the bowl game. Jim Leonard is another man that can put out a product on the field that Bama fans can be really excited about. Again, a top 10 defense doesn't allow for a whole lot of yards. And I'm going to throw somebody out there, maybe because it's the Bama and me. And I feel like we need a big injection of the Bama culture back in. And this is a guy that could actually produce and be more than just somebody to use as a recruiting tool.
Say it.
Bo Davis, folks. Bo
Say
Davis.
it. Say it. And if we don't take, man, I honestly believe there should be a lot more talk about Bo Davis coming to, I mean, like get a fair shot to not just be a recruiter, but like you said, just implement some old school mindset. Like I feel like the thing with our defense hasn't been the skill. It hasn't even been the scheme. It's the mindset. It's literally the mindset. Like you said earlier, the team takes on the persona of their coach, but these units, the offensive unit, the defensive unit, and even when you break them down more, the wide receivers, the linebackers, like they derive their energy and their mentality from those coordinators, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete Golden is not intense. He doesn't have a mindset of I'm coming to take whatever you got. Like you're not putting up anything on me. Pete Golden is more of a, all right, I'm gonna see if you can do it against this. I'm gonna see if you can do it against this. Okay, well, this worked for a little while, so let me run with this until they break this. No, see, Pruitt, Smart, those guys, even the guy Tosh Lapoy. Tosh Lapoy would send blitzes on everything.
Mm-hmm.
For no, like we're like, why are you blitzing? But I can appreciate that because he had that mindset, like there's a standard at Alabama and we have to look dominant. So my understanding of it is let's send these blitzes, because that's what our guys did. He didn't know how to coach, he didn't know how to scheme for game planning, you know what I'm saying? But he would send blitzes. We need a nasty defensive coordinator, like a mean, I'm ready to take what you got defensive coordinator and instill that energy in the defense.
When it comes to Bo Davis, folks in the chat and those watching the replay, there are two stats that immediately jump off the page. His final season at Alabama, he only allowed 75.7 yards rushing per game, and he only allowed 276.3 yards per game and 15.1 points per game.
Man. And imagine, just think about the talent he was doing that with, though. Like the amount of talent he was doing that with. Like Alabama has always been able to bring in, Bama got some guys. We bring in some guys. We've historically brought in guys. But imagine Bo Davis and Jeremy Pruitt, like the comment says, Bo Davis and Jeremy Pruitt together. If they can coexist, which they can, if they could come in and just take the talent that we have this year, I believe we would see a dominant defense this year to the point where it would kind of hurt our DBs because I don't think our DBs would get tested that much because of the type of blitz schemes that Jeremy Pruitt devises. The way he can see the game, the way he can feel for the change of momentum when it comes to handling the opposing offense is really second to Kirby. We give Coach Saban, but Kirby was handed the defense his second year, like fully handed the defense his second year as a defensive coordinator. Saban would talk, having conversation, but that was Kirby's defense. I haven't seen Saban give the defense over yet, and Pete Golden, he gave Pete Golden his chances, but you could tell when Saban took over. When we went man under in the Sugar Bowl, I guarantee you that was a Saban call. When we went man under, you kept and I know he saw Huggin Henry getting beat in the middle every time. So to eliminate that, you go man under and hope that your front guys can win their one-on-ones, and get to the quarterback and cause them not to look at the mismatch. So it's one of those things where we would definitely greatly benefit. Man, you had a list there, bro. You got me excited.
Go ahead and give yours. I know we're in short of time, and
I'm not giving no list for the defensive side because literally I only had Jeremy Pruitt and I had Bo Davis, bro. Like them was the only two. Now, if we're talking about speculating who could possibly come in, I saw people saying D'Amico Ryans. I don't see that happening. But if
Mm-mm.
we could somehow get Strong back, you know, like that,
Right.
that would be awesome, and give him an opportunity. You have what's his name sitting on as a stat analyst right now, Todd Grantham. He's an analyst on our staff right
Mm.
now. Third and Grantham, but
Third and Grantham. Shit.
you get what I'm saying. But third and Grantham is better than Golden.
That is true.
I'll take third and Grantham over Golden any day. So that's speculating, but talking about what I would want. Jeremy Pruitt was number one, and then Bo Davis, man. You talking about Bama pedigree? Like we got it. That would be. You know what that would do for the university as a whole? Kids that actually know Alabama history, kids that do their research. They're like, man, this guy Bama for real. Like he's Bama. You get what I'm saying? So I would love to see that. Yeah, Grantham is horrible, but Grantham is better. Grantham is better than Golden. Argue me that. Argue me that. Argue me that.
Travelpreneur Sports Podcast. Any chance Freddie Roach gets a chance to be the defensive coordinator?
Because Freddie Roach barely holding on to being the defensive line coach right now.
I think he's being handcuffed because of Pete Golden's inadequacies, but
that's yet to be seen. At the moment he gets a chance outside of Pete Golden, we got too much talent, man. You got Otis Burrows, you got Perry, you got Rusaw, Quay. The boy is here. He's here. Like, bro, we got to see something. I don't care who the coordinator is. You got dogs up front, man. You got to make it happen. You got to make it happen, Freddie. We deep in that D-line room. You got to make it happen this year.
Okay. Excellent point. And that's something we're definitely going to be addressing in the next few weeks. Definitely until a decision is made, which I'll guarantee you within the next, I say 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to see some kind of movement.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about this 2023 edition of the Crimson Tide. We're going to not give a full breakdown. We're just going to give, bits and pieces because we have a lot of weeks ahead and we have plenty of time to talk about it as we draw near to the A-Day game and spring training. One position that I am looking at right now, or more so a player, and I think that Coach Smook, you can agree, and a lot of Bama fans can agree because they've been very high on him since he signed on the dotted line of his letter of intent, and that's Kendrick Blackshire, 6'2", 245 pound, former 4-star. This is a guy last year had a wrist injury midway through the season, had to have pins put in. And as I kind of looked in his history, yes, he is that dude. He looks like the second coming of Reuben Foster, Reggie Ragland, and I can name a host of any others to compare him to. But I also found something that was kind of disturbing, and that he has a history of health issues dating back to his junior year of high school where he tore his ACL. But when he's healthy, he's very versatile, can play inside, off the edge, can play with his hand on the ground. One of the things that stands out immediately, of course, Bama fans, you've seen the pictures, I've seen the pictures, and I'm sure we've shared them numerous times. He's a physical specimen. I mean, he just looks like a grown man. Looks like he was hatched out of Ronnie Coleman and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right. For the younger people in the audience, I'll explain later who those people are. Incredible balance of upper and lower body strength. One knock against him, if you had to have a knock against him, is he's a little bit stiff in his lower body. Not really a coverage guy, but
hips.
But he can play solid against the run. My question is he an every down guy? But here's the thing. We've already mentioned this name before. He's out. But Deontay Lawson has stepped in, and he's been making a name for himself. So are we in a situation where Deontay is blowing past Kendrick Blackshire, or does Blackshire still have that door open for him to make his move? And this is a very important spring, Coach Smook. And I do have to remind you, as well as the other people in the audience, Reuben Foster and Reggie Ragland were both late bloomers, and we all saw how that panned out. So if his awakening is coming, then may God have mercy on the souls of the opposing offense. But here's one thing that may benefit him, and this is another rumor that's floating about. Word is that Sal Sinceri is going to return to an on the field role and possibly coach linebackers. If Sal Sinceri is able to get back to doing
They're
that,
back in business inside. I'm telling
love
you.
what he can do for Kendrick Blackshire. But Coach, I'd like to hear your thoughts, and then I'm sure you've got some thoughts on position group.
Definitely. I'm right there with you, man. My concern with Blackshear is that he's gonna be another Terrell Lewis or Ben Davis, man. And y'all remember how highly touted those guys were.
Yeah.
And just I mean, both of those guys physical specimens also. Terrell Lewis came in looking like a jacked wide receiver and was blitzing and beating guys off the edge as a defensive end, strength, strong hands, strong lower body, his mobility was second to none. And same Ben Davis was just a I'm talking about a monster in the weight room, a head buster in high school. It just never correlated onto the field because of injuries, man. And same with Terrell Lewis. So Blackshear, I just hope he can stay healthy. I would hate for him to have a dominant spring, man, and then turn around and the week before the season kickoff, boom, a broken elbow or shoulder, or like Terrell Lewis, being that he was a edge rusher, the legs, man. Once edge rushers aren't able to plant and force generate power to go through from the lower body up, they're literally relying on just hands, being able to throw guys around, and that doesn't last long. A quick a couple double teams throughout the game settle that down quick. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely with Blackshear, I'm hoping that
I
this will be
definitely
his
agree.
coming out year.
I agree with you as far as the Terrell Lewis comparison, because you look at what Terrell Lewis was projected to be when he came on campus, and that first A-Day game that he came on the field, he was making a name for himself. And I'm sitting there looking at my program. Who in the world is number
Who is this guy?
24? This
Yeah,
dude is a beast. He's on loan to us from the
actually,
NFL. But the problem was he just could not stay
injuries.
healthy.
Lewis wore 44 when he came in. His first that 8-day game, I remember, because he when he spinned off the edge and was chasing down it wasn't Jalen. Oh my God, who was the quarterback? I forget. It might have been Tua or little brother, Tua's little brother.
Talia.
J- uh, yeah, I know he spinned off the edge, man, and the spin he left the left guard. He left him in the left tackle. He just completely like blocking a ghost. And that's when I was like, yo, who is this dude? Because I went to that 8-day game.
I was
And
there
I'm like,
too.
who is this guy? Who is this guy? And then he was 6'5", coming off the edge. You can't miss him. But he went, on the sideline, he really looked like a tight end, more so like a hybrid tight end than the defensive end that year. And but yeah, man, a guy that I feel like should be able to show out next year. I feel like we're in prime to see a Jaheim Otis just dominate next year. I'm talking about like Jordan Davis type stuff from a few years ago from Georgia, like
But with
Quentin
a better
Williams.
better cardiovascular endurance, right?
Yeah, yeah, way better. I mean,
Than
this
Jordan
year Otis,
Davis.
yeah, this year Otis, if Otis and Jordan Davis were in the same class, Otis he's outshining Jordan Davis. Yeah, Otis is outshining um Davis. So that's nothing to, and the fact that he was able to drop the weight like he did and still go out there and exert the same amount of force and
Hmm.
disruption and power, like that just goes to show you the boy is literally that guy. And who else defensively? I'm ready to see Perry. I think Perry has a chance to make a big splash with Young leaving. With a boy be coming off a injury, Coach Saban is going to play that safe throughout the offseason if he does decide to return. With a boy because he's that valuable. How that affects him. Usually they gradually bring guys like that back, and you don't get to see him until like week 6 or 7 be full strength. So a guy like Perry would definitely benefit from it. And we saw what he was doing just getting on the field during the bowl game. The guy, if anytime you see 44 on the field, you saw havoc in the backfield every time. He might not been making the tackle, but he was creating havoc. So I'm excited about that. And on the back end, defensively, Caleb Downs. I'm ready to see that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to see that. Watching that guy in the All-Star game, the All-American game, was crazy. Like, and Keon Keeley, I didn't know he was that good. I didn't know he was that big. I'm not. Like he's
I want to see
bigger
a
than.
birth certificate.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know Keely was because the pictures and like the Instagram posts and the highlights, like you don't really get to see how big a guy is.
Right.
But I got a buddy. His son was at the game. Travis Smith Jr. If we could go get this guy for 2025 at wide receiver, Bama, any recruiting Bama people, 2025 receiver Travis Smith Jr. We need to go get him. He goes to Lakewood High School in Georgia. We need to go check him out. But yeah. But yeah, on the field, Keely is huge, man. Him, Rusall, and James Smith, they're going to be immediate impact. Even Collins, like, bro, we just too much, man. Too much talent to be wasting energy hiring patch up coordinators and coaches. We need to go big, blow the bank. Saban, take a pay cut if you need to, because we done already took care of you for the rest of your life. Take a pay cut for
Right.
2 years, and let's just win 2 more, and then you can retire, and we good.
And I still contend that Jeremiah Alexander is going to be that guy. But
You
we'll
think
talk
he's going to
about
be?
that.
You
We'll
think
talk about
real quick
that.
before you leave? You
When
really
I leave,
think?
wait, I got one more little thing I want to kind of,
Oh, I'm sorry,
dabble
because
into
I love your
just to get
defensive
the
side right now.
the fires, constantly burning and people in the chat tuned in.
Right.
I want you to go ahead and tell me who has the edge at quarterback right now, as far as going to be 1A, 1B. I'm a huge Jalen Milroe fan, and I strongly believe that under the right circumstances, the right offensive coordinator, that he's going to be an absolute star. But if I was forced to pick a starter right now, I had to go with Ty Simpson simply because he seems more comfortable. I feel like that he has a better grasp of the offense only because he's been prepared better. If Jalen Milroe has somebody who can prepare him and get his confidence where it should be, then I'll change my answer. And I want to
Yeah.
change my answer because I honestly believe that if we have somebody who's competent coaching him, that he's going to be an absolute star. But if I had to pick somebody right now, I just go with Ty Simpson, slim margin, just because of the confidence factor. What do you say?
And I hate to agree with you because I know Milroe in anybody else's offense on another team is going to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really. Someone will take Milroe right now in the league. The SEC would fight for Milroe could probably go in and catch a couple bags right now if he entered the transfer portal. Because he really has that type of ceiling. It's just been tainted by being under Bill O'Brien, and he can't be comfortable because he didn't come out of a heavy passing style offense in high school. Milroe was was the Jahmyr Gibbs / Jalen Hurts for his team in high school. So Ty Simpson would definitely get the nod, not because he looks better. He's definitely not. He's not the better quarterback. He's not the
Athlete.
better player. He's not the better player. I'm not even gonna say athlete. He's not the better player. He's definitely the more composed quarterback. He's definitely the quarterback. He's a quarterback. He's not an athlete. And for that reason, everybody keeps talking about Ty Simpson is looks more comfortable and all this stuff. Ty Simpson has yet to play a meaningful snap in college football. Simple as that. Even in the spring game, Ty Simpson didn't look great. Milroe looked great in the
He looked
spring game.
green.
That's what I'm saying. Ty Simpson looked brand
But
new. Even in mop up time, Ty Simpson was handed easy plays. Hand the ball off. I think he threw like 6 passes or 12 passes all year, maybe something like that. But the game he threw more than 1 pass. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like he had control of the offense. He just looked calm. You know what I'm saying? He just looked
yeah,
like, okay, it's
he did.
football. I'm gonna play football. Jalen Milroe, I feel like he thinks too much when it comes to the pass game, and that's
But that's where your coordinator comes in to kind of slow things down and get you feeling comfortable and not over analyzing things. Whereas I just think that Milroe's at a disadvantage under Bill O'Brien because I feel like Ty Simpson knows that O'Brien is bought into him, and I don't believe that Milroe believes that O'Brien is bought into him.
Man, I'm looking at these comments before we go, bro. I know you trying to get up out of here, and I'm trying to get up out of here too. But Sweet Home Bama 22, you are so on point with that comment. Jalen Milroe and Jamarian Miller can't be stopped. Imagine those two with RPO, man, or Jalen Milroe and Jace McClellan with the RP, like a good coached up RPO style offense like Tua had, where you're not having to hold on to the ball because the motions and everything that's been schemed up is creating the looks for you. That's how Jalen Hurts grew up under Lincoln Riley. He called plays. He had an offensive scheme that was set up to create looks for Jalen, not for him to have looks or to see the looks. It created the looks for him. The moment you find a coordinator that can create looks for a quarterback, it doesn't really matter what quarterback you have back there. The quarterbacks feel comfortable. He knows the offense. No quarterback, to me, honestly, Bryce Young still wasn't comfortable with the offense this year. And we saw what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He still wasn't comfortable. Him and the receivers weren't on the same page. So we can't penalize Milroe for not looking like a D1 quarterback or the top tier quarterback that I believe he is, because of just the whole mode of the offense. Running backs didn't look, comfortable with early in the season with pass pro. Offensive line didn't look comfortable with pass pro early in the season. Wide receivers don't look comfortable running their routes. So you throw a guy who's used to using his legs out there with a inconsistencies like that, of course he's gonna look trash. Ty Simpson, I feel like Ty Simpson, if we would have threw Ty Simpson out there in front of Milroe, it would have killed his confidence this year because of the hype that's behind him and the expectation that's set on him. Throwing him into the fire this year would have been horrible. Milroe is not that guy. Milroe mentally, I think he handles that pressure because at the end of the day, he can rely on his athletic ability to create. And that's what sets him apart from Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson definitely has the mental for the game. But I think throwing him in that fire would have been bad for him.
Mm. We'll definitely explore this as the weeks come upon us, because we have a lot of time to talk about and debate everything. And that's what we're here for, giving opinions, like Coach Smook said, not facts. And we had a lot of facts laid out.
Speculation season, baby. Everybody's right in it. During the months from the middle of January to kickoff in August, September, everybody's right. Nobody can be wrong unless you talking about the past. You can be wrong talking about the past, but you talking about future speculation, everybody's right.
Right. I'm going to answer this last question before we start to close things up, from Jamie Wilhelm. How much do we need to see to know that Milroe is not the guy?
Jamie got something against Milroe, bro.
I'm gonna say this, and I want people to truly understand what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. We cannot accurately grade Jalen Milroe until we know what the situation is at offensive coordinator. If we don't have an offensive coordinator who embodies all those things that Coach Smook, Senator Hines, the man that I turn to for my knowledge, if it does not embody all those things he just mentioned, then it's not a fair advantage. It's a disadvantage to Jalen Milroe. If the man doesn't know how to develop a player, then it doesn't do any good. But if you have somebody who can open the offense up and who can create for him until he's able to go to the next step, if you have that guy in there, then we know if Jalen Milroe is or is not the guy, or Ty Simpson is or is not the guy.
So all you hit it on the head. Oh, like defense. Look at that comment. He said, "Our OC made me doubt Bryce." Bryce Young, the Heisman quarterback from last year. He at times this year, I didn't think that. I don't know who that was. That Bryce Young did not look like the quarterback from last year, even though he had another good season. Man, Bill O'Brien affected a Heisman winning quarterback to put him in positions to make him be Superman every down. Majority, I say 85-90% of the plays that were called, Bryce had to play superhero because of the scheme, man. And you talk about you want to throw Ty Simpson into that? Ty Simpson did not look comfortable in garbage time, guys. Like, he just had plays like it's garbage time. Of course, it's not going to have a lot of criticism and speculation because it's garbage time. But you look at what Jalen Milroe was able to do with an inconsistent play calling. The game, 3 turnovers. 2 of them were fumbles. He's an athletic quarterback, loose with the ball. He ain't had live game stats. He ain't had to take many hits. He learned his lessons as the game progressed, all this other stuff. Yes, okay, boom. But you look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, people forget Jalen Hurts had a fumble his first snap against USC. He had
First snap.
another fumble that same game, but ended up being in the running for the Heisman because he was under an offensive coordinator who was adjusting the offense for him as the weeks went by. Bill O'Brien never adjusted the offense for Bryce. He sure as hell wasn't going to do it for Jalen Milroe. And what makes you think he's going to do it for Ty Simpson? Ty Simpson ain't Tom Brady. Ty Simpson is not Mac Jones. Ty Simpson has those attributes, similar attributes of those type of quarterbacks, but he's no great athlete. I'm telling y'all right now, I've seen the kid play in real life. Like, the kid is a good quarterback. He's not an athlete. He can get loose with his feet. AJ McCarron used to get loose with his feet every now and then. Greg McElroy, come on, but when you think of an athletic quarterback, we're not thinking of AJ McCarron and Greg McElroy. Ty Simpson is along the lines of those type of quarterbacks, can be effective in the right type of game management system. I think he can make big plays when they need to be made, but with a coordinator like Bill O'Brien, we will never see that. So that's my last argument with the quarterback situation, as far as, because I feel like both of those guys, when it's their time, they're with a competent coordinator, they're going to be putting up numbers. They're going to be able to lead a team. They're going to be able to produce results.
Agreed. We will definitely hit that more and more.
Yes, sir.
But for now, we need to start wrapping things up. Coach Smook, I'm going to let you take the floor first. Tell the folks how they can find you, what you got going on. We're a family of networks, so definitely pop what you got. And folks, I want you to support everything he's got. So before you do that, Coach Smook, everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help us hit 4,000 subscribers. We're well on our way, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. But Coach Smook, do your thing.
And once again, Justin, I appreciate it, brother, for having me on again. This is the best show, bro. Like, for real. Like, people are commenting and sending me things in my inbox saying they can't wait for Sundays and stuff. So I'm blessed for this opportunity. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Just go follow, subscribe to my page here on YouTube. It's at Coach Smook. You can go find me, subscribe there. The content is coming starting this week. We're starting the reaction videos this week. Going to be reacting to some of the Alabama games from this past season, some of the news that's being put out. Like, my goal is to provide reaction videos to any type of major Alabama news. I'm really trying to hold off till Bill O'Brien being let go or moving on to do my first live reaction video. So y'all put a pin on that one. But find me on Facebook, also Coach Smook and Coach Smook Gaming, and also on TikTok at Coach Smook. You can find me on all those platforms. Twitter at Coach Smook. You can tweet me. You know, I tweet you back whenever I check Twitter. I'm not a Twitter guy, but I do be on there sometimes. You know, so if y'all want to get in that Twitter thing, blow me up. I'll start getting active on that too. So once again, roll tide, everybody. And Justin, appreciate you, brother.
Hey, man, you're part of the family. You are what makes this thing go. Hey, folks, I want y'all to become more interactive. Well, you're doing a great job here. But what I mean by that is we need ideas for shows. This is your off season as much as it is ours. The Bama Standard at gmail.com is your suggestion box. So please contribute to it. What would you like us to talk about? Do you want to start bringing some guests on? Because I've got an amazing directory of former Bama players at my disposal. So if you want some guests to start coming on here, give me some ideas. We got plenty of that. I want to remind everybody, please, to check out the latest videos that have dropped this weekend. One of which, I want to ask you a question, Coach. Who in Alabama history had the best debut first snap of the ball? Anybody come to mind? I'll let you think on that. And where I'm going with this,
let's save it.
We have a candidate, and that's Shawn Williams, Alabama running back, 2002, 2003, one of the most electric running backs that we've had.
Opening snap.
Opening snap. We have a video up right now where he's talking about that 2002 against Arkansas. First play from scrimmage, 88 yards to the house.
See, I'm thinking about the 64-yard one.
But
that wasn't his first snap. Yeah.
That was his first snap, the 88. Yeah. But hey, we're going to debate that. But listen, guys, the Bama Standard at gmail.com. Give us some ideas. Give us some guest suggestions, and I'll start putting that to work. We've got a lot going on this week for the Bama Standard, the live show on Tuesday nights on TDA Sports YouTube channel, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. We will be live. Our guest will be, a running back, Ken Darby will be here. A man that was that dude in the backfield Tuesday night. I'm getting ahead of myself. Matt Caddell and Chris James return for the final whistle. We're going to be talking about Bama basketball. We're going to be talking about coaching changes supposedly and just a lot of stuff that's going on in the offseason we got to address. Then Wednesday nights, the developmental focus points, 7:30 p.m. Central right here. And that's hosted by Bo Scarborough, Blake Sims, Christian Jones, and Trent Richardson. I dare you to find a panel that's more star-studded than that.
Right.
Check them out. They've got a great guest, incredible story, former Alabama defensive lineman Rudy Griffin. If you're not familiar with his story, you need to familiarize yourself with him because it's tremendous. Notre Dame has their Rudy. Well, Bama has the real Rudy, a man that was a former walk-on and ended up becoming a star on that 2005 defense and has also found some stardom as a coach. You definitely want to tune in to hear his story. It's definitely life-changing. We got a lot of stuff going on. Of course, every Sunday night we're doing our thing. Yeah, we're a little bit late this week. We apologize. But, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be back next week. And I'll remind everybody again, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Definitely as you leave out. Thank you to everyone in the chat tonight for making us go, getting us fired up, giving us talking points. Hey, we definitely appreciate you. But that's going to do it for us. Everyone have a good night and roll tide.
Roll tide, everybody.